I still remember that moment as if it were yesterday, the ticking of the office clock, the cold gleam of the glass walls, and her voice, calm, sharp, and utterly serious. "Be my boyfriend," she said. "Or forget the promotion." For a second, I thought she was joking. I laughed, nervously, trying to play it off. But then I saw her eyes, steady, unreadable, and dead serious. My laughter died in my throat. That's how it began, the strangest chapter of my life, one that would break me, remake me, and teach me that sometimes, even power and pain can hide a wounded heart just waiting for a reason to heal. Yellow heart, before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected love, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Kindness Journal, and share it with someone who believes in redemption too. Yellow heart. Her name was Clara Hensley, the youngest CEO in the company's history. 34, confident, brilliant, and known across the industry for her icy precision. People said she never smiled, that she didn't have time for weakness or empathy. I'd been working under her for nearly 3 years, and despite her reputation, I respected her deeply. I was just an ordinary marketing executive, Ethan Rowe, 29, ambitious but struggling. I came from a small town, worked 2 jobs in college, and every bit of success I earned came from sleepless nights and unshakable grit. When I got the email saying I was shortlisted for a senior project manager position, it felt like all those sacrifices had finally meant something. But then came that meeting. It was supposed to be a routine performance review. She sat behind her sleek white desk, dressed in a charcoal gray suit, her hair neatly pinned, her expression unreadable as always. She started with the usual talk about my performance, numbers, targets, leadership potential. Then, just as I relaxed, she dropped the bomb. "Ethan," she said quietly, "I'm giving you a choice. Be my boyfriend, or forget about the promotion." I stared at her, stunned. I honestly thought it was some kind of test, maybe even a psychological game. So I chuckled awkwardly and said, "That's a funny way to motivate your employees." But she didn't smile. Her eyes stayed on me, piercing, unblinking. "I'm not joking," she said softly. "I need someone I can trust, publicly and privately." I didn't know what to say. The silence between us stretched like glass about to shatter. She stood up, walked around the desk, and stopped just a few inches away. I could feel the faint scent of her perfume, clean, distant, almost melancholic. "Think about it," she said before walking out, leaving me frozen in place. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind spun between confusion, anger, and curiosity. Why would a woman like her, powerful, beautiful, and feared, make such a strange request? It felt manipulative, unethical, even cruel. But deep down, a tiny voice whispered something else. What if there's more to this than it seems? The next few days at work were unbearable. Every time she passed by, I felt her gaze linger for just a moment longer than usual. I tried to avoid her, but fate, or maybe her deliberate planning, made that impossible. One afternoon, she called me into her office again. This time, she looked different. Less like the CEO everyone feared and more like someone carrying invisible weight. "Ethan," she said quietly, "I'll understand if you think I'm out of line. But I can't explain everything right now. Just, trust me." Something in her tone cracked through my defenses. It wasn't arrogance, it was pain. Against my better judgment, I said, "All right. I'll play along. For now." She looked almost relieved. "Good," she whispered. "Starting tomorrow, everyone will believe we're together." And so began the strangest chapter of my life. At first, it was awkward beyond words. She would invite me to company dinners, charity galas, and business trips. She'd hold my hand in public, smile for photos, and whisper things in front of others that made my coworkers raise their eyebrows. Behind closed doors, though, she was a completely different person, quiet, withdrawn, often staring out the window like someone waiting for a storm to pass. I never saw her truly relax, never saw her laugh. Over time, I started noticing things. The way her fingers trembled when she thought no one was watching. The faint scar near her collarbone. The way her office light stayed on long after everyone else had gone home. One night, after a late meeting, I found her sitting alone in the conference room, staring at an old photograph. It showed a man, maybe in his 40s, smiling beside her. "He was my fiancé," she said softly when she caught me looking. "He died 3 years ago in a car crash. He was the only one who ever knew the real me." That's when I finally understood, her strange request wasn't about manipulation. It was about survival. She was lonely, trapped in a world that judged every move she made, desperate to shield herself from another scandal. A powerful CEO dating one of her employees would shift attention, create noise, and, ironically, protect her from a truth she couldn't bear to face, that she was still grieving. But I didn't pity her. I just saw a woman who had built walls so high that even she couldn't see beyond them anymore. Slowly, I started breaking through, not with grand gestures, but small acts of kindness. I'd leave her a coffee on her desk every morning, send her a meme just to make her roll her eyes, or remind her to eat when she skipped lunch for the 5th time. And slowly, something began to change. Her smiles, rare and fleeting at first, started lasting longer. Her laughter, once buried deep, began to echo through the office. The rumors that we were dating spread like wildfire, but neither of us bothered to deny them. The truth was, I had stopped pretending long ago. Somewhere between the charade and the late-night talks, I had fallen for her. One weekend, she invited me to her lake house, to escape the noise. It was the first time I saw her without her armor, barefoot, in a simple white shirt and jeans, hair down, looking like an entirely different person. We spent hours talking, not about work, not about power, but about life, fear, and dreams. That evening, as the sun began to set behind the still water, she looked at me and said, "I didn't ask you to be my boyfriend for a promotion anymore, did I?" I smiled faintly. "No," I whispered. "You didn't." From that day, things felt real. We didn't label it, didn't rush it, but there was a quiet understanding between us, a fragile bond built on shared scars and silent trust. But the world wasn't kind to such stories. A few weeks later, the board got wind of our relationship. An anonymous complaint was filed, claiming favoritism, misconduct, and abuse of power. Overnight, everything she had worked for was under threat. She was furious, terrified, and heartbroken all at once. I tried to step forward, to take the blame, but she stopped me. "Ethan," she said firmly, "I started this. I'll finish it." She faced the board with her usual calm, explaining every detail, every decision, and admitting that what began as a professional mistake had turned into something deeply personal. They offered her a choice: resign quietly or face public scandal. She chose to resign. When she handed in her badge and walked out of that building, I followed her. She didn't say much, just looked at me with tired eyes and whispered, "You shouldn't have stayed, Ethan. You had everything ahead of you." I shook my head. "No. I have everything right here." Life after that wasn't glamorous. We both started from scratch. She opened a small consultancy firm, helping young entrepreneurs. I joined her, not as her employee this time, but as her partner in every sense of the word. The first few months were rough, long hours, tight budgets, sleepless nights. But there was peace, laughter, and honesty. For the first time, she was free, and so was I. A year later, standing by that same lake house where everything had changed, she took my hand and said, "I don't need to hide behind power anymore. You taught me that love isn't weakness, it's courage." I smiled, pulling her close. "And you taught me that sometimes, the strangest beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings." The world still judged. Some whispered that I got my success through her, others said